You're at 2 minutes, Ted. You're at a minute. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are live.
All right, what is going on, Geeks and Geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC.
Hey, everybody.
The man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's a good night to talk about Loki episode 5.
And it's also a good night because we got a special guest in-house, or at least the virtual house, hailing from Hollywood, California. He is the host of course, you know, This Means podcast, the one and only Jonathan Graves. What's going on, Johnny?
Hey, Ted. Thank you for having me. Close enough. It's of course you realize This Means podcast.
I knew I got it wrong as soon as it came out.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, that's a Looney Tunes podcast, and I have a lot of great content coming up in the next couple weeks. So look out for that.
Absolutely.
And I have a little dog running around, so you might hear his pitter patter of the feet.
Throw
Hopefully
some
not too
Loki
distracting.
horns. Throw some
Yeah,
Loki
yeah,
horns
just
on
gotta
the
get
dog,
some Loki
put them on
horns.
camera, and
Exactly.
it's fine. We got this.
Don't even worry about it, John, because we get Ted's daughter, the star of the show. She comes out and makes her weekly appearance as well from time to time.
Nice.
She needs some Loki horns as well. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to return and talk about all this geek stuff, like Loki, which I'm loving.
Absolutely. So we are all here tonight to talk about the 5th episode of Loki. It's the second to the last one. And man, oh man, this one was as exciting, as thrilling, and tons of things to talk about, including Easter eggs. And I know you guys probably caught a bunch. If you're watching this video or this stream right now, we want to hear from you. Let us know what your thoughts are about Loki episode 5, your theories going forward, because I think everybody has their own at this point. And then Easter eggs. There were a million things to call out in the 5th episode of Loki, and we want to see what you caught, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we caught as well. But first, before we get to our spoiler discussion, I want to make sure to put that warning out. Thank you for joining. We ask that if you're listening to our podcast or you're watching our shows, if you're liking the content, do us a favor, would you? And go out and give us a positive review on Apple iTunes. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the support. Appreciate all the downloads. Love seeing those numbers going up and up. So thank you once again. Now let's get to Loki. We're gonna start this off how we've started every episode. You know what? If you want to, okay. If you
Sure.
spent all that time,
Time,
go for it,
JC.
man.
Time.
Make me feel important, please. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
JC is important. We can't have the show without him. He's the heart of the
He
show.
has a glorious
Glorious
purpose. to
He
fulfill.
does.
Yeah.
Glorious purpose,
Thank you.
JC.
Master
Oh,
the
it's so
stopwatch.
good.
Yeah.
All right, man. Whenever you're ready.
Ready, set, go.
We are back with Loki, who was pruned and ended up in the void. He meets more variants like him who are avoiding Elias. Sylvie and Ravonna come to an agreement to help one another to solve the TVA mystery for a minute or two until Renslayer stalls for backup, betraying Sylvie. That's going to be the theme of today's episode. This leaves Sylvie with one option: prune herself so that she can find our Loki, as I'm going to call him. Back in the void, the Council of Lokis, that's what I'm going to call them for the remainder of the episode, gather in their hideout discussing their lives and Nexus events. Just before embarking on his terrible plan, our Loki is confronted by the President Loki and his band of misfit Lokis. Sylvie awakens in the void and is immediately chased by Elias. Luckily, Mobius pulls up in a pizza delivery truck to rescue her. In the Loki hideout, Kid Loki is betrayed by the boastful Loki so that he may be king of the void, who is then betrayed by the President Loki, who is then betrayed by his band of misfit Lokis. Alligator Loki takes matters into his own jaws by biting a hand off President Loki, which causes a scuffle amongst the Council of Lokis. They escape, and on their way to Elias, bump into Mobius and Sylvie, who reveals her plan. She wants to enchant the beast. I'm going to end it there, and we're going to get into our discussion and kind of get into all the little details about that. What was that at, JC?
Minute 23, not bad.
Not bad.
I feel like I should bring the
Not my
1 minute.
best.
I feel like I should bring the 1 minute warning timer from WrestleCast and see if you can knock that out in a minute. You know.
Right? Ted,
I
challenge
will try that.
accepted.
I will try that next time.
Okay.
So let's go around the room then, and let's talk about this. This has been a very exciting series. This has been an exciting episode. We found out episode 4, JC, that not everything was as it seems, and some of us saw that coming, and we were kind of unsure. The last time our group got together, we were unsure if Ravonna, how much she knew. We got a lot more answers in this episode. And then what other things that kind of stuck out to you about this episode?
They finally show that TVA has some limitations. There's certain areas that even they can't go. They just where the end of time is, and it's constantly evolving, but they can't go past it. They can't go into the void. So very smart for whoever made this is hiding out there. I have a theory, but we'll get to that later. But
save that. Yeah, save it.
that,
Don't forget. Don't forget.
This episode really, where we've seen it back in previous MCU series, is the lull right before the last episode, and then it's the big thing. I feel like that little lull, like that low point, was episode 4, and now we're like, here's where we're gonna end. Here's where we're gonna spend 2 episodes just building that big climax, and I think they did a really good job. Kind of, for all the time travel in this, it makes sense. It hasn't been confusing, which is it is some other time travel films and TV series out there, it can get confusing, but this one actually did make sense. And my biggest takeaway from this is that TVA Renslayer just realizes she doesn't know everything, but she's loyal to a fault, and I think that's her downfall. So, yeah, that's my initial thoughts so far.
No, that's actually well said, because even leading up to Ravonna and Sylvie's last sort of lines to one another, I was still curious, like, how much of Renslayer is either with Sylvie, or do they just have a very similar goal in mind, but they want to do different things because of it?
Right.
Johnny, I'll ask you, man. We see Sylvie and Ravonna team up for a bit. Was Ravonna going to betray her the entire time? Was there a part of her that needed Sylvie for something? Like, what were your thoughts going around all of that? How did you see that play out in your head?
When I watch this show, I just let stuff happen. I just let it play out the way it's going to play out. I don't try to get ahead of it. But I will say that those two adversaries are really fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that Sylvie always was going to plan for a betrayal, and she was able to get out of that situation the best she could, and it led to a really exciting moment, and also a scene where we're led to believe that Miss Minutes is not all-knowing and not as quick and efficient as she could be, or she was stalling for time, to for nefarious reasons.
Yes.
We'll find out the next episode, but I'm very wary of Miss Minutes at the moment.
I'm still waiting for the mask to come off, and she's like this evil being or entity. Like it's not possible that she's just this AI that has this much influence over everything and everyone, right? She's
Right.
not just the Siri of that TVA complex, but she's also almost like the security guard in a way. She's the thing that keeps everybody in line. I kind of feel like there's a thing that would happen. There's a way she would punish people if they did step out of line. Like I think there's a lot more that she does. There's a lot more things to fear about her, and I've been waiting for that big reveal. It hasn't happened yet. One more episode.
She's the HAL of this. If you remember 2001: A Space Odyssey, she's that computer that ends up controlling and taking over the ship.
Oh, nice.
How-
Yeah. So
There you go. There you go.
HAL 9000, I think it was called. Yeah. So.
Joe, let's go to you next, man. We start this episode with Loki being pruned. He's in the void. Sylvie and Ravonna, they go back and forth about this whole deal. In my head, I honestly thought that at least by the time Sylvie pruned herself, Renslayer was lying that she was dead. I mean, part of it's to save face, right? But is it kind of helping Sylvie in a way to get the TVA off her back at this point? I mean, she knows she has a temp pad. She knows that she's capable of accomplishing a lot because she's been running from the TVA for decades, very successfully, might I add. So, in your head, is Renslayer completely against Sylvie, or is there part of her that needs her for something?
No, y'all still don't listen, man. Renslayer's behind the whole thing. She's just
not
playing stupid.
She's not.
I
She's
don't think
playing
so,
you all.
man.
She's playing you all. She's playing dumb. I know this, man. I'm telling you. This girl knows more than she's letting on. I think she's just playing Sylvie. It's all about playing the game within the game within the game within the game. And she's playing you guys. That's
Only
when
Lokis do that.
even when she's by herself having to ask Miss Minutes who founded the TVA.
she's playing stupid, dude. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this. And if I'm right, you heard it here first, because that's what I've been telling you guys since the beginning. That Renslayer knows more than she's letting on. Either she's the one who's constructed the whole TVA, and she's just trying to hide from something or somebody for a certain reason. We don't know what that is, and we're about to find out, because as we know at the end of the episode, they are going somewhere else, to a castle, much like Wizard of Oz. I'm getting the Wizard of Oz vibes off of this. What's at the end of the yellow brick road? We're about to find out.
Okay, so even when Renslayer is going to, I'm hoping I get this right, B-15, who's locked up, and she's like, tell me what you know, you still think that Renslayer, based on the conversation, is the man behind the curtain?
I think really what she's trying to figure out is how much do they actually know? Are they a threat to her whole facade? How much do you actually know? Because if you don't know, that's okay. I don't have to destroy you. But if you know too much, then we're going to have to prune your ass, because she's just trying to hide the whole thing, dude. It's just a facade. It's, the guy behind the curtain, like Wizard of Oz. She's trying to hide something. And I think she knows more than she's letting on, because look at the way she acts. She asks C-15 certain questions like, what do you know? She wants to know what everybody knows because she wants to keep her lie a secret. That's it. She's not dumb. She knows what's going on. And you know who's playing along with her too? Miss Minutes is playing right along with her.
For who?
I'm
The
telling
audience?
you.
We're the
I'm
only
telling
people
you.
that
What has Disney
know
done
more
before?
than
What has
Renslayer.
Disney done before? They've trolled you guys. This is a troll
Not
job.
me. Not
They've trolled
me.
everybody. They trolled
Not
the
me.
fans.
I
They
told
trolling
you
y'all.
guys. No Mephisto. Mephisto ain't nowhere.
I'm telling
He
you,
ain't
man.
in this one either.
I promise
right.
you, it's gonna be more than what she's letting on.
I'm glad that we have this on video. That way we can go back to it and like, no, Joe, you said it was Renslayer.
I'm telling
right.
you. I promise you, she knows more than she's saying.
All right. John, I'll go to Graves next. Graves, is there any solid concrete point in your head that would remove Renslayer from being the one above all? Just the one running the entire show?
Is there any one particular thing about that? I mean, Joe raises a lot of good points where you could say that she's, playing into a persona that leads us off of her trail. And I can't discredit that. There isn't like evidence where that would not be the case. There's definitely a lingering question around Owen Wilson's character whenever he went to her office and there was that additional ring around the around the table, and like they've obviously they have a history, but there's stuff that he doesn't even know about her.
That's right.
That allows the audience to question her entire involvement. I think that there is also enough to say that there's something else. And I think I want to believe that there's something else. And when I'm skipping ahead, but when the cloud opened at the
That's
end,
totally fine.
We saw that, building there. I think that building is going to show us a lot, and also refocus what we've already seen and give us a new meaning on everything, which is really exciting. And that's what good TV does. That's what good storytelling does. So I just think that the cast all around is killing it in this show. And the fact that, we are questioning motives and, all of this deep layered stuff around this particular character, I think is really great. I can't discredit anything that she's done based on anything I've seen. And I don't have concrete evidence that she's not behind it.
I'll finish with Renslayer saying that would be the biggest twist of anything Marvel's done in the past, because they've set up really well that there has to be a higher authority at play, and it doesn't feel like it's Renslayer. It feels like you can go probably in 2 or 3 other directions that we might discuss later on, but it doesn't feel like Renslayer would be one of those. But hey, if Marvel pulls it off, Marvel pulls it off.
If I may add, it wouldn't just be Renslayer. It could be Renslayer and somebody else teaming together,
Miss Minutes.
Together. That's
I'm telling you, it could be Miss Minutes. She could be an entity that we, like you all were saying, that they're doing something together. They're in cahoots, because it was funny how Miss Minutes
orange clock.
Well, that's what she appears to be.
It's Raven from Teen Titans the whole damn time.
Yeah,
it's voice actress.
I'm just saying, it's funny because look at Miss Minutes. She's like playing along with Renslayer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's say this lie. Oh, there's a spaceship that can go through the void. Let me look through the file." Stalling for time when they know that the other agents are coming. Miss Minutes knows something, and they're trying to hide something. They're just trying to feed Sylvie information that, oh, really? There's a spaceship. I got to know the file for this. And come on, man. I mean, there's no file for a spaceship. If there was a spaceship, there would be one. Give me the keys. Let me get in it.
Yeah, she's very intuitive, and she sees a variant holding her judge hostage. I think that's all that means.
She's playing along. She knows something.
I'm saying everyone relying on Alexa or whatever kind of a voice assistant you have in your house.
It's Miss Minutes.
Better watch out. It's going to turn into Miss Minutes. It's going to be an AI that's going to take over shit. So
Miss Minutes knows things. She knows some things, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Disney to come out with their own like AI like home system, and they're going to name it Miss Minutes, and then we're going to be able to talk to it and ask it to set alarms and all that. It'll be great. It'll be fine.
You can add Baby Groot to your Alexa and just ask him anything, and he always answers, "I am Groot."
What?
Yes.
You're just now telling me this,
I
man.
thought
Thanks.
you knew already.
Let's get to the Council of Lokis.
All right.
And I'm very happy about this because I don't recall if it was our first episode or our second episode that we talked about this. But immediately I said, we're going to get a Council of Ricks, of Rick Sanchez's in Loki. And sure enough, this is probably as close as we're going to get to that. They're not running the universe like I kind of thought they might, but they're running the void. And the void, we learned a lot more, right? It's not a pocket reality. It's not a microverse. It's the actual end of the known universe, which is pretty dope.
Universes. They made it seem like all the multiverses end at this point.
Yeah, and then
And
everything else is sort of unknown. It's not in
It's not
any sort of
written yet.
structure.
Which
Yeah.
would mean
Yeah.
that the void is also a Nexus event in itself because it affects all realities all at the same time.
Pretty much, but it's so
Possibly.
far after the end of time. We don't.
But
know
there's
what
only
share.
there's only like one reality, and
Mhm.
it's not even like there's no existence after it because
Yeah,
there's
it's a
no
void.
structure to it. Yeah, so it's
It's
a
eternal.
it's a
Yeah.
very dope concept. I love it. I want you guys to go around and talk about the Council of Lokis. I'll start with Alligator Loki. He takes crap from nobody. You know, you disrespect him in any sort of way, he's going to take you out. You talk about him eating the neighbor's cat, he's going to go after you. So yeah, my favorite is Alligator Loki. Let's put that guy in a box. Let's put him on the shelves already. I need Alligator Loki on my shelf, like ASAP. JC, what was sort of, I don't know, one of your favorite moments? There was a lot going on. A lot of these guys talking about their Nexus events. Kid Loki killed Thor, Jesus. And then Boast for Loki doesn't really accomplish anything, but he likes to lie about it.
Mm-hmm. First of all, this whole Council of Lokis, that's all going to be a bunch of Funko Pops within the next few months. So get ready for that by Christmas time.
Make a box set.
Secondly, I feel like this council got a lot more done in that little discussion than, well, not to play politics, but sometimes our government does when they're trying to do shit. So maybe we should elect Lokis to be into the House and Senate. Just a thought. No, my favorite moment of this is just randomly when President Loki shows up with everyone, Alligator Loki just gets pissed and bites his hand off. It was just the most random, out there moment. I could not stop laughing because he sees his hand missing. He just starts screaming. And I thought it was so freaking hilarious. We have a Captain Hook variant going on right now. Is basically what it was. But I just thought
Chubb's variant from Happy Gilmore.
yeah, they're that too. I just enjoyed the banter between them. They're trying to outdo their own accomplishments as their own Loki. It's basically a discussion of why they're the better Loki. Is kind of what it turned into, and I thought that was funny. I was wondering, hey, if you get a whole bunch of versions of a villain together, which honestly, it felt like Geek Talk. Which version of Loki is the best one? Which version of this superhero is the best one? Which version of Loki is the best one? I was like, I think I could have related to that scene, you know. So,
absolutely loved it. Joe, what about you, sir? What's sort of one of your favorite moments from either the initial discussion from our Fellowship of Lokis? I'll call them that, Fellowship of Lokis. Even to after President Loki shows up with, these are all Lokis too, right? I'm not the only one thinking that. Like all these other scrubs around President Loki, these are all like less superior Lokis, basically.
We don't know. I
One of
think
them has like a bicycle helmet for horns, and like it's just they all look terrible.
it could have been
But I think they're all
followers. It could have
Lokis as
just been
well.
followers. You know, like you have the
Other
Loki,
variants,
the other
yeah.
variants. You know, that fell into this, and they decided, well, we either die or we follow Loki. Well, let's follow Loki and do whatever he tells us. You know, because the real Lokis have the golden horns, and it's as you saw, the other ones did not. They kind of had makeshift horns, and well, I'm a Loki too. No, you're not. You're following a Loki. But I thought it was funny, just the banter between everybody, and you know, their the way that their personas are. They're so similar, and everybody wanting to betray each other. Oh, I'm the better Loki. No, I'm the better Loki. You know, and then the fight that ensues, and everybody trying to betray each other and going at each other, and then the other Loki gets his hand bitten off by Crocodile Loki. But one of the things that I thought was so endearing in this whole conversation was old Loki explaining to them his story, you know, where everywhere I go, chaos ensues. So he's
Yeah.
looking for peace and not to hurt anybody. So he outcast himself to this planet for a long period of time. And he's like, well, I got lonely. I wanted to see my brother, which is Thor. And that's kind of how he got caught by the TVA, because he just got lonely. I mean, it's something that's, I think, at the heart of every Loki, is that regardless of how much they hate their brother, they actually deep down love their brother Thor,
Except Kid Loki.
except for Kid
They straight
Loki.
up killed him.
He killed him. Yeah. But other
The
than that,
opposite of that. Yeah.
it's funny how they're kind of similar in nature, their storylines. But also, one of the things that I think that old Loki or classic Loki was very telling and trying to explain is, you're stronger than you realize. It's a sentiment I think that's going to echo throughout. Not only did it echo out through episode 5, but it's going to have ramifications that are going to be echoing out probably through the finale as well. It's going to have a big impact, I think, in the final storyline. You're stronger than you know. It's empowering. Like, you set the limitations, and I think it's empowering for everybody as a person, as an individual. You're only bound by your own limitations. Everybody's stronger than they know. You only set limits for yourself, but if you push on through that, you're going to find that your inner strength is going to be the thing that will set you free, which I really loved. I like the story behind that whole thing.
Well said, man. Not only to you, but David Lozano is in a chat. He says the most endearing thing to him was the Thanos copter. So yeah, that too.
Mhm.
We're gonna get into a lot more Easter eggs as well. Was that?
Just on the whole stronger than you know. I mean, all we've known is that each Loki seems to have one main ability, but what we're kind of revealing at the end of the episode is that maybe they all have all the abilities together. They just haven't tapped into them.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
powers combined.
Yeah.
Whenever Sylvie tells our Loki that he can enchant and they can do it together, like he's he's not believing that he can, but she knows that he can, and it's after they witness the massive ability to conjure up that the fake city of, the fake Asgard that classic Loki conjures, and it's super empowering, empowering and powerful. Thank you, Joe, for saying that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's two ways to go about it. Either they have that ability, they just need to learn that and tap into it, or is it one of those things like I forget? I think the name of the movie was The One. I think it was a Jet Li movie.
Oh my
where
god.
Like all these multiverses of one person, but like variations of one person across different verses. But every time you kill one, the other ones get stronger. Like if one dies, does the rest of them get like a tap ability to do like stronger things like that? I'm calling out like a really old movie that somebody out watching may not even know what I'm talking about. But
my favorite quote from that movie, and may I curse on this show?
Sure.
Ted. Okay,
Yeah.
my favorite line from that movie is, "I'm you, law. I'm nobody's bitch."
Oh my god.
But yeah, just either you have the access to those abilities, you just need to unlock them in your brain, or when one of your other variants dies, you become stronger in those abilities, something like that.
Yeah,
So-
one of the things that I think we're overlooking here too, with all these Lokis together, is the one theory that I had thrown out to you guys, that Loki
Uh-oh.
is in fact a Nexus being, and that's the same thing that they kind of hinted at with the Scarlet Witch, which is leading up to the ultimate, I guess, fan service, which is going to be probably Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm sure that Ant-Man and the Wasp, the next one, what's it called, the Quantum Mania,
Quantum Mania.
that's going to introduce more things.
Mania.
But I think the big payoff is probably going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But it's leading up to, or preparing you guys or the fans for, hey, this is the introduction of Nexus beings, and I think this is exactly what we're seeing, where you can have one being existing in all realities, which is what Loki and Wanda are, but they can also affect the timeline. That's what makes them a Nexus being. That's what makes them special. And I think seeing this is getting me excited, because I'm waiting for the payoff to finally say, Loki, you are a Nexus being. I'm going to be like, damn, there we go.
What I like about this council of Lokis, and especially them going over their backstory before, is that it's gonna kind of lead into my theory about how this show is gonna end and who's behind the TVA for real. So I love hearing the stories and how they're all different. I love our Loki reaction to everything, Loki Prime, and just Tom Hiddleston reacting to the nonsense and the absurdity of Loki's betraying Loki's before his eyes. He's just like an embarrassed parent, just like, oh my god, these guys are idiots. It's hilarious, and it's just something I never thought we would see. It's so damn entertaining. I really hope everybody's enjoying this series as much as I am, because we're never going to get anything like this again. I don't see Marvel pulling a Rick and Morty type episode with anybody else, maybe except Deadpool. That's a possibility. But no, I don't want to
Council of Deadpools.
No,
Jesus.
man.
Can you imagine?
I can, and I think that's the only other person I'd rather see. I don't want to see anybody else.
Shout out Mike. He says, "Give me a Council of Elizabeth Olsens," and I'm thinking of that. That's hot. I agree with you. That'd be freaking hot, just to have a whole bunch of Elizabeth Olsens together. Like one Scarlet Witch is hot enough. Give me a whole bunch of them would be great. So, yeah,
that'd be pretty dope.
You know, one of the things too, Ted, that we didn't discuss is one of the powers that classic Loki had, which I thought was a really cool thing to have in your arsenal. The ability to teleport, albeit short distances, but to have that in your arsenal, that's pretty badass, dude. It's not an illusion. You can teleport to short distances of places that you've already been, which we saw how useful that was in them escaping the Council of Loki's, the fight, you know?
Yeah.
So
you're talking about the classic Loki.
Classic
right?
Loki, yeah. I'm like, dude, this dude is pretty damn powerful, you know?
And while we're on classic Loki, I just love the depth that Richard E. Grant brought to this role, and also like every word that he said like dripped with like depth and like emotion, and I love that. But also his costume and the fact that every time he used his power, he glue green, and I thought that was a good homage to the comics and something that we don't usually get in these kind of thing. I mean, with WandaVision, we actually had Wanda and Vision in those classic costumes, the Scarlet Witch costume and Vision's, comic book counterpart look, and those were Halloween costumes in that world, but they were straight from the comic. I mean, I love seeing that, and wow, like they nailed this character, and even though he was only in this one episode, I feel like there's going to be a mad rush to anytime this character is released in toys, or if he ever comes back. I don't know, like if that's possible. I feel like anything's possible at this point. So
anything is possible, and it would be a disservice to the fans to only have Richard Grant playing this one episode. And either I don't know how they would do this. I mean, he doesn't exist in reality at all anymore, right? Because of Goliath. There's like no backwards way of seeing him, or I guess time traveling and
well, maybe he's
him,
not dead, Ted. Remember what he said.
Remember
what he said, how he escaped Thanos. He created an illusion so strong that the Mad Titan literally felt like he snapped his neck.
Dope.
So that means that he created an illusion that had like some dimension or depth to it, where he could actually take a physical form, and you actually felt like you broke his neck, and he just kind of bounced, and escaped. So maybe he can create really powerful illusions. How do we know that wasn't even him there fighting Goliath? It could have been a projection, which is pretty damn cool.
I think for now that was really him, but if there's enough fans yelling and screaming that they want him back, they can rewrite it saying it was illusion the whole time. They can just it was Agatha all along. It was illusion the whole time. So they can kind of go with that. And but yeah, that is pretty crazy how powerful he was to trick Thanos.
That was a great story. I absolutely loved it, and it would be a really ballsy move for Marvel to pull that. What was that old school TV show, Dallas, where he's like, "Oh, it was just all a bad dream."
It was,
and like
who killed JR? Who killed JR?
Exactly. So there you go.
Damn, that is wild.
That kind of
Who Killed JR came up twice now in the past 48 hours for me.
What?
What is happening now?
Ted showing our age is what's happening, Ted.
We're all
What
we're all,
timeline are
we're all
you
up
in,
there.
Am I living in the void right now?
Right?
What is happening?
Who killed JR?
Oh
Hey,
my
we need to
God.
get Johnny Graves a shirt that said "Who killed JR."
Yeah.
There you go.
It's destiny.
I need to make sure I don't miss any of these comments because I'm already getting behind here.
Uh-huh.
Mike Rodriguez, Mike, friend of the show, been on all the time. A variant Loki is behind it all. It was Loki all along. I'm sure he was typing it in that way.
Yeah.
Ryan says, "Wow, that is the fastest description on this Loki episode. Hashtag amazing. Hashtag discuss. Appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks, bud." David Lozano says, "If y'all don't spend decent amount of time on Loki, I'm gonna be pissed." We're gonna talk about Loki the entire time, Dave. I promise.
Mhm.
Shout out to Dave. And then he says, especially if you don't speak at length about Frog Thor, I'm going to throw my phone out the window. Yes, let's please do that.
Let's talk about Frog Thor, please.
Yeah, let's take a
so
break, get into some Easter eggs. Johnny, take it away, sir.
I'm sure I missed a bunch, but go for it, Johnny. Yeah. So.
I had to go back and pause the TV and take a picture because seeing Frog Thor in live action, he's a CG character, but like amazing. And they did such a good job. It's so funny. He's in a jar trying to get Mjolnir, and then there's a giant Mjolnir like in the rock. Like, what is happening? And the placement of it was absurd but hilarious. I love how cartoony they go with this show.
Yes.
And there's no limit to
Absolutely.
what Loki will witness. And he didn't even see that. He didn't, like, the audience saw it, but he didn't see it. I love this show. I love every aspect of this show. On episode 2, I turned to my wife and I was like, that is the best Marvel episode ever of anything. And now I'm like, this was the best Marvel episode. It builds on itself. It's so good. So yes, I loved Frog Thor. I will not take away any of the other Easter eggs. So Joe, take it.
No, I thought that was hilarious too. You see Molimir, in the ground, and you see Frog Thor in the little jar, trying to get out, which is funny because it's showing you like all the weird things that are just underground. Even the spaceship. You see the classic UFO spaceship crashed on the ground, just all sorts of weird nonsense going on. Even the big old battleship that just crashed out of the sky comes out.
Oh, yeah, the USS Eldridge.
Yeah, and you see the sailors on there, and they're all firing at the, what's his name? The Alioth or whatever?
Alioth.
And they're shooting at the void, this big this big, gaseous being or whatever, and he comes and devours them. But it brings me into a question too. How do we know that this being is actually vaporizing them? We don't know if they're going somewhere else, yet there's another place that they can go and hide. It's like, what's happening to these, variants when they get consumed by this being? What's really going on here? We don't actually know yet.
I'll take that one away because it was last episode when we find out Loki doesn't die when he gets pruned that I immediately went onto Twitter and I said, it feels like there's a trash bin, and it feels like everything that gets pruned goes into this waste basket. I didn't think of calling it a void or whatever, but I just felt like it was the garbage disposal for the TVA.
It was a landfill.
Yeah,
It was the Sakaar for the TVA.
absolutely.
The devil's butthole. The devil's anus.
Jesus, I forgot they did that. Yeah. So to me, this is the garbage disposal for the TVA, and this is the disposal itself, keeping everything neat and clean and whatnot, because it's the end of all existence or end of all reality, and you can't have a nexus event occurring because you can't affect anything after. There is nothing after this part to begin with, and Alioth might have something to do with that, because if there isn't anything around, if there isn't anything substantial that's left, either it's a planet or a space or whatever it is. I want to say it's Earth, but just because New York, part of New York is there, doesn't mean it's Earth. So it just could be a reality, a spot where just things get thrown, and then Elias disintegrates it, destroys it. They said he devours matter, and so I don't think they have any reason to mislead us to this point. So I'm thinking this is the end after you are destroyed by Elias.
But do you know what Elias is?
Well, it's just a living being that devours matter, like you said, because they demonstrate that with that battleship that shows up, and the whole crew basically gets almost like the life sucked out of them. You know,
Yeah,
they just turned to ash. You know, it was. I guess you could say similar to the snap, just how they just disintegrate away whenever it touches them.
Yeah, because I think
So-
from what I'm reading too, Elias was introduced in 1993's Avengers, the Terminatrix Objective #1, and in that comic they also introduced Ravonna Renslayer, and it features Kang the Conqueror as its central villain. But Elias is actually considered the first being that broke free from the constraints of time. So you can see how they're starting to kind of bring the whole picture into focus here. Ravonna Renslayer, Elias. The only thing missing from this equation is a reference to Kang the Conqueror. Maybe
Or
we might
Jonathan
see
Majors
something.
showing up.
Yeah, we might see something, you know, and I'm not saying you're going to see the character, oh, he's there. Might be a reference. Maybe you might see an Easter egg of something referring to Kang the Conqueror on the wall or somewhere, you know, but it would be cool, you know, to kind of pay that fan service, you know, that little Easter egg to the fans.
there
I
you
want
go.
him there.
Oh my
I just think it'd be
gosh.
really cool. And you know, Marvel has done this before, where they give you the actor before they really have developed the character. My wife was saying after we watched it that you know, if they do bring him in, it would be the same as when Brie Larson was brought on for Endgame, which they shot before her movie,
Right.
and she did a lot more of the comic book reading and studying for her character during that process. So, I mean, it could be something similar, possibly.
Hopefully that would be
I-
dope.
I will say it
Yeah.
again at the end of this episode whenever we get into theories, but every single fingerprint and clue and every shred of evidence for me points towards Kang. But my gut feeling says it's something else. It's someone else.
The kablooey,
And-
remember we talked about the kablooey.
There's a lot of things. I'm letting you know everything that the show has been telling us. All the references, all the little hints, all the Easter eggs. The beginning of this episode, when we are doing the fly into the void, and we're passing through what looks like a torn down New York City, Avengers Tower or Stark Tower, turned out it wasn't either one of those. It was actually Kang, Qeng, which means Kang Enterprises, which has ties to Kang the Conqueror. So it's like another clue. Why don't you? Yeah, keep throwing them. They're trying to beat me over the head with it, and I want to fall for it. I'll talk about it. I have a crazy theory about what might be happening at the end. I did have another Easter egg, kind of related to the Frog Thor thing, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. School lunch trays. I guess
Right,
elementary school lunch trays.
You see them in that scene, yeah.
We see them in the scene as we're panning down into the Loki hideout. We're going through the various layers of dirt and everything. There's school lunch trays, and there's not like one or two. There's like a dozen of these things, right? And I'm like, that's weird. That's a weird detail. And then if you actually rewind earlier in the episode, there wasn't a dozen. There was a pile behind Kid Loki. Is like a 10-foot pile of like grade school lunch trays that you would, the plastic deals, and you would put crap on it. And you go sit down and eat your crappy food, that kind of thing. And I'm like, listen, I'm not supposed to be spending so much time worrying about this, but all the other Easter eggs made sense. We saw Thanos' yellow copter from the comics that we'd never in million years thought we'd see. But these school lunch trays are sticking out to me. And if anybody's watching right now and you have a theory behind it, spill it. I want to hear it. And I don't know if you guys thought about this at all. It feels like this could have a tie to Mobius's pen. There's which president? Frederick
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR.
Roosevelt. There you go, FDR. There's an FDR pen that Mobius holds, and he's joking to Renslayer, saying, "This must be your other guy, your Sancho on the side." And I think that's Mobius's pen, that he has ties to it. I don't know if we'll get that answer, but the only other thing that's sort of grade school related or school related at all are these lunch trays. So
I was going to actually mention when Sylvie wakes up in the void, she's in a school bus, and then she kicks out the window, the windshield of the school bus to get out before the big cloud takes it over. Yeah, I clocked it, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe it's a hint at Kid Loki doing something because he's a kid and kids go to school. I don't know. That's a loose theory.
They make it seem like this is his world. Like they all end up on his world, his reality. I mean that seems like his. After he killed Thor, like his whole world became a variant somehow, and like they all just ends up there.
He is the king there.
Yeah,
he has a throne.
They make it a point to say that. So yeah.
He's the most badass Loki of them all, is what I feel like.
Yeah.
No, he gave Loki a sword, so that's pretty badass too.
Oh yeah.
And he's the only one that's killed Thor, apparently. I don't think any others probably even crossed their mind. So they're probably like, "Oh, you're the most badass of all in the void."
Unless alligator Loki trapped frog Loki in the jar. That's the only other thing I can think of. Frog Thor, excuse me. Yeah.
It's quite possible. It's quite possible. Did you guys catch the massive yellow jacket helmet earlier in the episode?
Yeah.
It's there for a brief second. It's oversized. It looks at least 20 feet tall. And it makes you wonder if Yellow Jacket from the first Ant-Man film, when he sort of disappeared, if this helmet is from that moment in time.
Oh,
why would it be?
Yeah.
No idea, but he's gone and we don't know where he's been. And now we have an oversized Yellow Jacket helmet. So just something to think about there. Oh my God, my favorite Easter egg. Nobody caught this. I promise you nobody caught this because it was for a 1/10 of a second. When Kid Loki is sitting in his chair, his throne, which is surrounded by candy canes, in a bowling alley, make sense of this, please. I want to know what it means. Everybody's talking about their deal, their Nexus events, and then Kid Loki, after Alligator Loki gets like a shot of wine in the mouth, they kind of pan across Kid Loki, and in his hand is none other than a Hi-C Ecto Cooler, which hasn't been around for decades. I know because I've been wanting one for 30 years. And so it's just so cool that one of these, there's all these things that haven't been around in a long time, and to see an Ecto Cooler in a Loki episode, it's just pulling at the heartstrings. There's rumors it might make a comeback pretty soon, but I'm not going to hold my breath. They've said that before, and it hasn't happened. But yes, Hi-C Ecto 1 Cooler in the hands of Kid Loki in a Marvel TV series. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, I feel like they just had fun putting whatever they could in this. I mean, you say that like you want it to come back. Maybe it'll come back when they bring Jolt Cola back. Anybody remember Jolt?
Oh, God. I remember Jolt Cola. That stuff had more caffeine than a Mountain Dew, dude.
Oh my God.
That'll mess you up.
It'd give you the shakes for the rest of the day. You drink one.
5 hours, please. Yeah.
Ooh, Mike on the chat says a variant Peter Parker went to FDR and not Science High. So they all got pruned. Hey, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking in the back of my head. Maybe they're making a reference to Spider-Man, because you have Spider-Man No Way Home coming up, and they have the bus and you have those trays and everything, but they can't really say anything about Spidey, but the school bus and the trays and stuff kind of fit in with the Spidey universe, you know?
Yeah. All these Easter eggs, I want the backstory. It's just so damn interesting. We see the Dark Aster Ronin ship crashed on the side over here. The last time we saw the Aster was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm pretty sure. I think that's
just
right.
one.
No, it was only in one.
One.
Yeah.
You're right. It is
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I don't think because he was in Captain Marvel, but I don't know if we saw the ship in Captain Marvel.
Yeah, he had
No.
the Dark
He did,
Aster. And,
but that was 20 years before.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the most recent in the timeline is Guardians of the Galaxy, is when we saw the Dark Aster.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, why is it here? What is the thing that Ronin or just they did wrong with the Aster that got it pruned and sent to the void? Just all interesting stuff. One last thing I'll say about the Council of Loki's little scuffle, and then we can move forward to the end of the episode.
You just love all these Lokis betraying each other.
Absolutely. It's so damn fun. And JC knows I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan.
He's all about-
JC
He's all about the cheese, man. That's really what it's about. His whole
J-
cheese mustard is in there.
JC found out the hard way how much I like Rick and Morty because I asked him to watch it with me one time, and it was just the wrong episode to get some.
He didn't tell me I had to be high to enjoy it. That's really what it was, and
Absolutely.
so.
So I don't know if anybody else watches it. If anybody else watches Rick and Morty on the chat, let me know. But during this fight, you hear the score, and in the score, you're getting these very sort of 70s or 60s tremolo sounds in the background. It's all very Rick and Morty. I need to talk to the music director of this episode because that has to be intentional. If you listen to the theme song of Rick and Morty, all those very similar components are there. Those sounds, the trills in the background. So during this fight, which we've never gotten any other episode sounding anything like this, you're getting all those same components. You're getting all those same inflections, those instrument sounds during this fight, and it sounds very Rick and Morty. And so I think there's a heavy influence. We know the writer is also a writer from the Rick and Morty show, so I don't think it's by accident, and I absolutely love it. And this is the most Rick and Morty thing this show has done, is having a dozen or so Lokis have at it and like duke it out. While, mind you, classic Loki opens up a portal, and it's a very similar portal that Rick Sanchez would open with his portal gun. So it's all very little subtle hints. I don't think it's by accident. I absolutely enjoyed this whole section of the episode. So if anybody else,
Rick Sanchez is behind the whole thing. That's what you're alluding to.
Hey, if they want to do a crossover with Rick and Morty, it would blow everybody's minds, and it would be astounding. All right, we'll get to
I have Jericho's thoughts on the episode if you want me to read through that. So
please.
He said, I did watch episode 5. It was really good. Really sets up for the finale. I'm starting to believe Renslayer is just a pawn and was duped, but still doesn't want to believe it's all fake. I hope the finale isn't a letdown, but I'm hoping there's a big reveal. I'm not sure who would be the one in charge of it all. Also, how did Mobius learn to drive? They go through training at some point. I mean, they teleport everywhere. So anyone else weirded out by the Loki and Sylvie romance? And then he also said, lots of cool Easter eggs. My favorite was Frog Thor and the Thanos copter. I tried to read the sign of what looked like the Avengers Tower, but couldn't make it out. Also, did y'all see a destroyed Sanctum Sanctorum?
I thought I did, but I didn't go back to check. So this is Doctor Strange's lair, building, whatever, what have you.
Yeah, it's where the ancient
Condo.
one was. Yeah.
Yeah, and there might be one or two buildings that kind of have very similar stone features and structure. The problem is everything in the void is like knocked over and all has this very dark gray texture and everything. So it's hard to be sure. And I think there was a water tower on top of it. The problem is there's water towers on all these buildings in the void. So yes, very hard to pinpoint Which one might be that? We'll go around the room. That was a good question by Jericho. Is anyone feeling uneasy about a romance between two Lokis from different universes?
If I may, I'll start.
Johnny, please.
I think that it is a really good lesson to love yourself. I think that is, not just not in a physical sense, but like in a, for your mental health.
Sure.
Get to know yourself, really, like, find out what you like, find out what excites you. And if there's a career path, or if there's something that inspires you that also makes you get up in the morning, I think that is the way to go. And
Yeah.
I've always lived my life that way. And the podcast is proof of that. So, having a relationship with yourself is important. And yes, it is physically shown in this show between a female variant and a male variant.
Sure.
But they aren't, I don't think they're crossing any boundaries to show that. And also, if a variant Loki is behind it all, then you are your own worst enemy as well.
There you go. There you go. I think my son asked me this question about the Sylvie and our Loki. And I told him, like, well, it's different. I tried to come up with a scientific way of explaining it. I'm like, well, look, it's different universes, people on different Earths, they vibrate at a different frequency. So, they're probably, the molecular structure is different. Their blood types are probably different. I'm like, there's nothing that's the same about either one of those individuals on a cellular level. Maybe they have similar backstories, but it's a lot less of like Loki's in love with himself to me, and more of like he's in love or going to be in love with a person who just shares a lot of similar traits as he does. JC, what are your thoughts on it, man?
You're making me follow that highly intellectual speech that Johnny just gave us. I'm like, really? I'm supposed to follow that? I don't know. I can't really agree on what he said. Yeah, but I guess, yeah, it's okay to love yourself, especially if that other self is a hot, young female version of yourself, I guess. I don't know. But no, I mean, if anything, he's learning a lot. It's the only time he's really able to trust somebody. I think that's the biggest thing. He's learned to trust, and to the point where she's shown him there's more ability-wise that he can do. So,
yeah.
Whether there will be an on-screen kiss, I have no idea. I'll let you know if I'm weirded out if that happens. That's really how I see it at this point. So
I say absolutely, I'm all for it. Mike is also in the chat, and he says Loki and Cersei. Loki and Sylvie is way better than Jaime and Cersei Lannister. I agree, Mike. Absolutely agree. And yet people were kind of cheering for them a little bit. I don't know. Joe, what about you, man? What's your take on the Loki and Sylvie relationship?
I just think it's something that's been echoed throughout the series, and it harkens back to just a good old fashioned love story. It seems like love is at the core, or a love story is at the core of this series, and I'm telling you this because I'm thinking if they go the route that they're going, it might be the reveal at the end is going to be a love story that forced Ravonna Renslayer to go to great lengths as she has done, because love can make you go insane. It's maddening at times, so it's going to be interesting to see if this love story will echo out even in Ravonna Renslayer's arc, which I think is at the core of everything. Because when they revealed the castle, it reminded me of one thing in particular. Throughout the Marvel universe, there have been, villains who live in castles. I believe Victor Von Doom was one of them. I'm not saying that he's going to be revealed. I'm not going to say that. But I'm saying there's been other villains that lived in castles. And if they were looking for a big reveal at the end, they could do something as simple as maybe even like putting in Immortus, who was once known as Nathaniel Richards, who actually AKA became Kang the Conqueror. So that would be something if, like you said, Let's show the character in his infancy in the beginning, and then you actually see what this character can become later on, sometime down the line. And I'm thinking that maybe that's going to play out where we're going to see that love story kind of between Kang and Ravonna Renslayer. That would be a perfect way to kind of tie up this whole thing, with Loki. It would be great for the fans to see the reveal.
I agree.
It sounds very good. Again, Renslayer though would need to know more in that scenario
She
by this point,
does.
right?
She does.
Okay, we'll see.
I'm telling you.
see.
I'm telling you, Ted.
I believe you. I believe you. I believe you.
You were Joe. You were asking what Marvel characters are known to be in a castle.
Yeah,
What I
villains.
think what you should be asking is what Disney characters are known to be in a castle.
All right, there are
Hey.
some.
One big one is the Beast.
Yeah,
There you go.
from Beauty and the
Yeah.
Beast.
Beast.
Maleficent's behind all this shit, man. That's where
I'm telling you, man.
Disney villain is behind all
It's an eternal.
Yeah.
It's a good old fashioned love story. I'm telling you, man. Look, that's what Loki is at its core.
Oh
No, I
man.
love that. That's great.
Let's get to the climax of this episode, shall we? So Sylvie wants to enchant Elias, and her and Loki have a very hard time of distracting Elias in order to just have a moment to try and pull this off. To the rescue comes classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, who pulls off the biggest boss move we might have seen in the MCU to date. He recreates Asgard, even the small details from the stones to the trees to the smaller structures, all the way into the actual castle. And it's a massive conjuring, and it takes a toll on him because you can actually see how it's draining him physically, trying to conjure up this massive conjure. Either way, Sylvie, Loki hold hands. They're able to enchant Elias, but not before. What we're thinking is he actually devours classic Loki, and not before he screams the two most famous words in this entire series: "Glorious purpose." So to date, this might be the only Loki in the history of the timeline, all reality, that has actually accomplished his glorious purpose. And it's a brilliant moment. Absolutely loved it. All Marvel fans should be on cloud nine at this part.
You know what I
After-
will say?
Yeah,
I
go for it,
wish
man.
I wish that we were able to watch this episode in a theater.
Oh my God, yes.
You know how great it would have been to have the communal audience with you in
Mhm.
that moment. Because I was feeling it, and I know other people were feeling it. So, man, that would have been so good.
Like Disney needs to go and make a legit virtual watch party where all the fans can get together and watch the episode and live tweet at the same time, where we can see the comments. People are already doing it. Disney, make it happen.
I'm with Johnny. I think this is 6-episode series. You can cut out the intros, you cut out all the credits, you can cut out some scenes that might overlap, and you could probably get this thing down to 3.5 hours, maybe collectively. Put it in the theater for one weekend only, right before Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and put a little intermission in between, like the first half and the second half. And I think you would have a fan event worthy enough that several people would be going. I'd be there. Graves would be there in Hollywood, and I think that would be a tremendous time.
They need to
Let me
show
add
it
to
in a
this.
castle. Show it in a castle, dude.
Let me add to this really great idea. Premiere the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer
Oh, there you
with
go.
this.
There you go. During the
Yeah.
intermission or something.
Yeah, I like that.
Who wouldn't be there? Everybody would be there. There you go. Absolutely. After Elias is enchanted, the cloud parts, and we do see a few things in this almost portal-like or opening in the cloud. We see the timeline as we have come to know it. We see what looks like an asteroid with some sort of castle structure on top of the asteroid with a tower that glows at the top. This is a premonition or a vision that Sylvia had seen beginning of the episode. And then we see kind of the mess or just the universes all sort of entangled in the background. I think that's what this is all meant to be. We have the timeline as it's organized, and yet we have all these colors and energies all around it that is supposed to, I think, supposed to be sort of the beginning of the end, right? That's what this really is, the beginning of the end of the timeline. So now we can get to the part of where we think this is all going. And Joe, I think we know where you kind of stand, but I'll ask you if you want to elaborate. What is your theory for who or what is in this castle? And I'm assuming it's going to have something to do with Renslayer, right?
I think you're going to probably see the backstory to Renslayer and why she decided to go this route with hiding herself within the TVA. At some point, Renslayer was betrothed to one Kang the Conqueror. He conquered her world, and her father gave up his kingdom to Kang to keep the peace. Kang was about to destroy her world, but lo and behold, he fell for Renslayer, and she decided to go on the run. I think this same scenario, or a variation of this storyline, could play out. Maybe it's not Kang, maybe it's somebody else they decide to go with, or maybe it's a Nathaniel, Richards that they'll kind of introduce, which AKA becomes Kang the Conqueror later on. But maybe we'll see some start of it, and to me, that would be a really interesting way to kind of tie everything up and just kind of leave it at that, and explain more as you get the movies coming out, So I think it's a really good jumping off point. I think this is going to be an interesting twist to the show if Disney, in fact, decides to go this route. But ultimately, we're going to find out come episode 6 next week. But I'm excited to see how it all comes to an end.
Me as well. And I hope it's a very long and lengthy episode, because I think there's still a lot of answers that we need. There's still a lot of questions to resolve. And I don't think it's just about who is behind this, but also the motivations behind it. Maybe even how they have the power or the technology to have something like the TVA up and running to begin with, because it's no small feat of getting the TVA running and going and keep it and maintaining it all this time. Graves, I'll go to you next, sir. Your theories for who's in the castle, maybe their motivations, their reasons for creating the TVA, and anything else you have going forward, man.
The White Vision is at the end of this, and he just wanted to be secluded and to read books.
There you go.
He wanted to learn about the ship of Theseus,
Smart.
and
Hey.
he just took some time to himself. And again, it's all about loving yourself and giving yourself time. So that's who's at the end of this.
You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. White Vision.
Wow.
There you go. Any expectations for next week, at least?
I want it to be great.
Yeah.
I don't want it to disappoint. The show has not disappointed, and
Absolutely.
I believe that we're going to get more wonderful moments between Sylvie and Loki, and I think we're going to get even better samples of the music that we've already been hearing. And you mentioned it earlier, the composer is doing a phenomenal job with the show.
Yes.
And I heard that you can find the soundtrack on Spotify, I think, and you can just listen to it. And also it includes the Asgardian song that Loki sings on the train. So yeah, I love the show. I can't wait for it to come to a wonderful, sweeping, epic conclusion, and a satisfying one at that.
Will you be satisfied if not everybody gets a happy ending?
No. No, I would not even be satisfied if Loki died again. Like I don't
Oh.
I don't need
I'm
these
sorry
characters
I
to have happy
asked.
endings.
I don't, it's Marvel, it's Disney, so like not everybody
Also
gets.
Loki.
It's also Loki, so they are right, because there's more than one. They are destined to not have happy endings, and
Right.
yes, this could be the one time that they do, but it doesn't mean that everybody could get one. And
I don't
so
think any of them are gonna get one.
there you go. All right, JC, how about you, man? Your final theories for 6 or anything else going forward?
Real quickly, we got a whole bunch of comments from Roms on YouTube. He just put
go for it, man.
He named a bunch of Easter eggs in there. I'm trying to see. Living Tribunal statue, Hydra helicarrier,
Oh my God! How did I forget that?
Philadelphia experiment reference. He mentioned the king. Nathaniel Richards' King the Conqueror, also Eliath the purple cloud beast, is a transdimensional being which devours temporal mass. King the Conqueror feels Eliath the most. So much stuff pointing to King. Hopefully we see him in mid-credit or end-credit scene. He says his main bet is on King. His second bet is on King Loki, because in the trailer we've seen King Loki, but we haven't seen him in any footage. Yet that's why it's my second bet. My third bet is a past TVA agent who created the Timekeepers and gave them knowledge of the past sacred timeline, so they wouldn't fail the new sacred timeline. Also, he said that Castle at the end reminded him of Doom's castle. So thanks, Rom, for
Victor
that.
Von Doom.
Yeah.
Shout out to Roms on YouTube. Did you want to say? You know what? First, Rom,
we can talk about what he
calling
says.
out the helicarrier first, because yes, it's off in the distance. You kind of make out one of the blade turbines, and so yeah, thanks for calling that out. The Living Tribunal statue is a big one, which they were supposed to have, possibly, I think, in another film, and they decided to scrap it because it was just way too much to drop on the audience. So interesting that they threw that little Easter egg out there. What is also interesting is at some point they're walking through a field of like stone heads, and like nobody knows what those are supposed to be referencing, but they're very large. It's sort of like the top half of heads. It's not like Easter Island, because those are very straight, narrow type deal. So, and then the Sphinx and the pyramid, that throws me off. How do you make a Nexus event if you're an inanimate object and you're just like sitting in the desert somewhere? I don't know, but
I mean, is all the reference there. I think it's the Earth where the Avengers lose in the first Avengers movie. Earth has become a wasteland, and that reality just became that. So let's just dump all the trash there. There's nothing that's going to happen on that Earth anyway. And eventually, they say the continents are going to reform and make one big continent eventually. So it could be that, First of all, when the Eliath opens and you see the castle, my first thought was, hey, that's the ending of His Dark Material season 1. Just go right into Seikatsu there. I'll just throw that in. So, but as far as my theories, first of all, I don't think we're going to find out who's behind all this at the end of this season.
You better not.
I don't think so. They've already started production or planning development on season 2. So they might point to something. We might see something, maybe at credits, but I think they're going to leave that as a cliffhanger for us to get us ready for season 2 and what they have planned. As far as theories, Kang seems to be the obvious one, but I was reading a lot of stuff online. I'm looking at various theories. One that stuck out to me and one that kind of does make sense is Carl Mordo from the first Doctor Strange movie. Okay. You haven't seen him since. And all we know is that he's trying to take away magic from so many other sorcerers in Doctor Strange 1. And who knows, maybe he figured out how to jump multiverses. Maybe he figured out how to create the TVA as a way of taking revenge somehow. It makes sense if he's learning about multiverses, if he's somehow involved with this whole plot. So if it's not Kang, he's a possibility, but I don't think whoever it is going to be revealed at the end of season 1. I think they're going to leave that as a cliffhanger for us. And if
that would be the worst.
They're already developing season 2, so it's not too far-fetched,
Ted, you asked if I would be disappointed by this ending, and yeah, JC nailed it. That's I'd be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we don't get something, yeah, I agree.
We'll get something, but we won't get everything. That's it.
No.
We might get clues, but I think
Oh
we
my
won't get the
God.
final reveal.
Yeah,
They're using this to set up something major with Phase 4. You know, I think the fall season when they start hitting the movies, that's where a lot of stuff's going to start playing a part. So they got a lot to
Gotcha.
build up. Mhm.
Mike's back in the chat. Says in Infinity War, Doctor Strange's fight with Thanos. That was when the Living Tribunal was supposed to show up. Yeah, that's right. Doctor Strange. It was written in the script was going to sort of bring Thanos and confront the Living Tribunal, and they decided to scrap that because that was going to be a little too much. There was already a lot going on in Infinity War to begin with, so yeah, I completely understand why they scrapped that idea.
Look at
And,
Rom's comments too. The last comment that he put up here. I'll put
Yeah, I
it
was
up
about to say.
on screen
Go for it.
for
What
you.
is it?
It says Rom says, I think the timeline the Hydra helicarrier came from was a timeline where Captain America worked with Hydra and helped take down Shield, like in the comics.
Very nice. Yeah,
Wow.
I believe that. I like that. That's why I want to know these backstories, because I think there's so many interesting variations of history or just the MCU and how things kind of played out.
I used
would
to
love to
read
know
a
all
whole
these
bunch
things.
of these. When I was a kid, I was like really into Doctor Strange comic books. That's why I know a lot about what the weird word of the world of the weird. I used to read Doctor Strange comics. I liked the Doctor Strange comic books because it dealt with all this mythical, dark arts and whatnot. And I thought that was always cool. Same thing with like Ghost Rider: Spirits of Vengeance. I was always reading the obscure comic books, and now they start coming into the MCU. They're bringing these characters to light. It's an exciting time to be alive if you're an MCU fan or Marvel fan. At that, it's just great to see these characters finally getting their due diligence or due justice, where they're actually making great series that are available to the fans. These are things that, as a kid, I'd always wanted to see, and now it's finally here, and I'm able to share these characters with my kids, which is great because it's something like you're in passing your love for these characters onto the next generation and letting them roll with it and create their own memories. So thank you, Disney, for allowing us to be able to impart these things to our kids.
Absolutely. The God the Chosen is also in the chat. He says, Who do you think the villain is, Kang or a different Loki? Funny you should ask. We kind of went around and talked about it, and I am the last one to go, and I kind of teased my theory earlier. Every clue, every metaphorical fingerprint, every metaphorical drop of blood points to Kang. We've had so many references. We've had so many characters that have ties to Kang, and just this entire premise. There is, as Joe had mentioned earlier, story arcs in which a version of Kang has done similar things, tried to maintain the timelines for his own benefit. But my absolute gut feeling, which usually I have to follow, would tell me that this has to have another Loki behind all of it. And before anybody says anything about my theory or anybody else's theory, I think there needs to be solid motivations for why your theory holds true. I can just say anything and it could be right or wrong, but I'm still trying to piece together why would any Loki from any timeline want to maintain the universe for how he or she sees fit. And it's fuzzy, but my only thought about this is Lokis are meant to fail. Lokis are meant to put everybody else on a pedestal, and everybody else gets to fulfill their glorious purpose. And perhaps there is a timeline in not our MCU, but there's an alternate reality where there is a Loki that actually won or actually ruled either a multiverse or a planet or a universe. And that Loki is who's behind everything. And his main goal is to make sure that he stays the superior Loki. And how does he do that? He does that by making sure not only all the remaining Lokis don't get out of line, but he has to ensure that everyone around those Lokis, all the other individuals, all the other planets, they all serve their purpose. Lokis are meant to put everybody else up. They're meant to put everybody else over. And that's the only thing I can think of. It might be a Loki, and I could get the motivation wrong. And that's fine. And that's just because I can't see the big picture. There still might be additional details that we're going to find out or get revealed. I I wish I could have the creativity. I'm putting on my Marvel writer's hat and I'm trying to figure out what's the bigger draw, what's the more interesting thing. If it's Kang in the castle, that's totally fine with me. I wouldn't be upset. It's definitely the most sort of obvious thing by episode 5 that you bring Kang in as the guy who's been pulling the strings all along. But for me, for the story, for the twist that fans probably shouldn't expect as much because there's less motivation. There's less motivation for Loki to do all this. But there's also so many things. There's so many moments in the dialogue of the story that would point to a Loki. Even when Sylvie first meets our MCU Loki, and she says, "This isn't about you." Well, what if we find out in the end it is about him, and it's about her, and it's about all the other Lokis because they always survive. They always find a way to keep moving on and keep going forward. So, in my gut, I think that there's a variant Loki who started the TVA, who's controlling everything, who might be trying to maybe change the destiny of all Lokis. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's a better idea than my first one. Maybe there's a Loki that's trying to change all of the timelines so that Lokis aren't going to fail miserably in every single timeline that they're in, but he's trying to change their fortune. And that could be it. And it just takes time to do that, or it takes time to manipulate the timelines in order to do that. I don't know. To me, it's
I
more
got a
interesting
rebuttal
if
for
there's a
you, Ted.
Loki.
I got a
I
rebuttal
don't want
for
you
you.
to.
No, I'm going to say everything that you've just said is
Yeah.
what it's pointing to one possibility and what I've been telling you guys.
You said Renslayer.
No, Loki is a Nexus being. That's what I've been telling you guys.
Yeah.
Loki is a Nexus being, and I don't think it's meant that they're meant to fail. But when you're a Nexus being, time is tied to that particular character in that particular universe or multiverse, wherever they're at. That is their purpose. It's to hold that whole universe or that timeline together. That is what a Nexus being does. They live in all realities, all at the same time. And because you see them fail and fail and fail again, I don't think that's indicative of them actually failing. I think that's time being held together by that particular character in that particular event or period in this multiverse, So
Yeah.
that's the stereotypical definition of what it means to be a Nexus being. Loki and Wanda are very important to the next phase, I believe, and where the MCU is going. And these are the starts of those, the starts of that
Stars.
storyline, the stepping stones. So I think that's going to be the thing that's going to really be a big reveal at some point in time, is that Loki is a Nexus being.
You know, I know you say Loki is important going forward. I hope so, but I also think that there's a possibility that he'll just remain sort of an outcast of the MCU. Things can be progressing with his story and his arc, but I don't know if we'll see him join up with Thor again. I don't know if we'll see him join up with any additional characters
Well, maybe
from the
you'll see a
MCU.
different version of Loki. That's the thing. Loki, as you know it,
Sure.
might go away, but there can also be other variants or different Lokis that will show up. That's the stereotypical definition of a Nexus being. They live in all realities and they're all connected,
There you go. Absolutely. Well, that is our theories for episode 6. We want to hear from you guys. If you're watching the stream, let us know. We have a few actually comments already in
Roms
the
again.
chat.
Let's place it up here.
Go for it, man.
There you go. He puts also Red Skull's escape ship from the first Avengers, Yellow Jacket helmet, multiple skeletons of Leviathans, the aliens the Avengers fought in the Avengers movie, Lamentus escape spaceship. He put was in the episode. He also said also a destroyed sanctum, which we were talking about, and then we have the God, the Chosen, which is all right, and goes, here's my prediction for how the show ends. It's going to split it up into a couple of comments because it's long. He's
waiting for it.
Before he posts that, Johnny, it looks like you got to head out. So I saw you send a quick message. So
yeah, thanks. I got to head out.
Yeah, no problem, sir.
Anything you want to plug before you
you got to. You got to,
plug
Johnny.
your podcast, your social media, whatever.
Give the fans a taste of what's coming up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on. This was a blast, and I always, love to talk Loki, love to talk Marvel. So yeah, can't wait for this show to come to this conclusion. And I know there are so many theories out there that it's not going to appease everybody, but just know to go in with, lower your expectations before you go in and just have a good time with it. So I have a show and Instagram. This Means Podcast is the main show title. Of course, you realize This Means Podcast, and then This Means Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and it's all loving Looney Tunes. So if you love those characters, I talk about them a lot. And with the new Space Jam coming out, I can't wait for everyone to see that and to be in an audience with everyone whenever that is playing.
We'll need to sell that a little bit more. So Johnny had an opportunity to visit Warner Brothers Studios and check out Space Jam ahead of time. He's not allowed to talk. Well, he doesn't want to say a lot for
I'm allowed to say that I saw it and that I really liked it. So
thank you. And we don't want you to spoil anything for anybody
He's
else.
Contractually obligated to say that. That's part of him going to stance with you. No, I'm just kidding.
LeBron James will come for him if he spoils the ending of the movie.
Thank you. But yes, I hope you check out the podcast, and I have a lot of fun interviews coming up, and one of which I've already recorded with Candy Milo, the voice of Granny, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, keep an eye on the podcast and the Instagram for updates and everything in that world. So.
Yeah. Thank you for coming out, Johnny Graves. You're a great guest as always.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I appreciate it. And
have a good night, sir. Yeah. We will talk to you soon, man. Hopefully next week for the finale of Loki.
There you go.
Hopefully. Yeah, it was a great panel. Thank you guys, and have a good night.
You too, John.
Thank you for watching. All of you in the comments. Thank you for watching.
Take care.
Take it easy, man.
All right. Later.
And let's see. We got the God the Chosen, who dropped his comments. He said that I think it's Loki variant because in the trailer footage we have seen Loki seen as a king, and I think this Loki has grown to the point where he is not interested in being king any longer. He also follows up with, so the big bad is a variant Loki who is the most powerful of them. Sylvie and Loki defeat him and imprison him, but in the end credit scene it's revealed Kang gave him the powers and then kills him. That would be intense.
Very. That'd be insane.
What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
No, I think that with all the Easter eggs and all the little drops that have been, from episode to episode that we've seen, the references to Kang. At some point in time, you're going to see Kang involved, so who knows? Sure. I mean, it sounds interesting, but kind of dark for a Disney series, but then again, hey, I would like the direction. If they're going to go that route, let it happen,
Absolutely. Roms is also in the chat. He says, people say Kang the Conqueror would be too big of a villain to introduce in a Disney Plus show, but I'm not trying to spoil nothing because I've already watched Black Widow, but just wait till you watch. So
interesting.
Very interesting as well.
Just confirm to me if Scarlett Johansson looks hot.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh man. Oh, he says. I don't know. He's good. He's good. He said,
Yeah.
just watch Black Widow.
Mhm.
Just wait till you watch. Interesting. Very interesting. All right.
So
All
you
right.
mean it's a good thing you paid for the end credit scene then, Ted?
Yeah. Our Geekcast screening is in a couple of days, and I can't wait to get everybody together. It'll be awesome, man.
We're down to
Um,
almost one day, Ted. We're on Wednesday. Thursday's coming up. Friday is the day.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. DeGod also says, I think Sylvie and Loki will become a couple also, and they enter a portal holding hands but never kiss, but they imply they're a couple. And for fan service, they show Mobius riding a jet ski. I think we
That would
will
be
all
badass.
be very disappointed if we don't see Mobius riding a jet ski, or at least like at the store about to purchase one, just like breathing it all in, about to grab the keys from some sales rep or something. We need to see that. That's got to be at least one of the final scenes of the series. Let that be the end credit scene. That's what I'm
Riding
saying.
a jet ski in South Padre Island. That'd be awesome. Just do
No.
that.
Oh, man.
Hey, that'd be awesome. Appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. If you got any other Easter eggs or theories about Loki, keep sending them in. And we're gonna quickly kind of change topics and go to rapid fire headlines before we end the stream. First of which is an announcement, a video game announcement. Not sure if you saw the announcement trailer on our Facebook page, but you can check that out at Countdowns to the Geekcast. And it is for a RoboCop video game, which has been announced for consoles as well as PC. The announcement trailer, again, is all on our timeline. It's titled RoboCop Rogue City. And gentlemen, I am intrigued. So we'll see what happens with that. But we got a couple of years to wait, and hopefully we'll get a lot more information about it. Just exciting. We haven't had a RoboCop video game in
Jeez.
decades, it feels like. And I remember
The old
NES
arcade game.
The old
one.
side scroller.
The old
There you
arcade
go.
game, man. And every movie theater in town had the old arcade RoboCop game.
Do you remember how he would flip the gun? He would put it.
Yeah. Thank you for your
So
cooperation.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Dropper. Yeah, that stuff. I love that stuff. I also posted on our Facebook page the trailer for Val Kilmer's documentary, kind of a biography. He says he's been recording and filming sort of his career ever since the beginning. And so he's been doing this, thousands and thousands of hours of footage that he's putting into this one documentary. If you want to see the trailer, check it out. But the actual film is going to be released August 6th on Amazon Prime Video. Oh, I think I got that wrong. Yeah, Amazon Prime on August 6th. In theaters, July 23rd. So you might have a chance to see it much earlier than that. Some Zack Snyder news. Zack Snyder revealed his next project will be titled Rebel Moon for Netflix, and will be inspired by filmmaker Akira Kurosawa as well as Star Wars. The synopsis is when a peaceful colony on the edge of the galaxy is threatened by the armies of a tyrannical regent named Belisarius. The desperate people dispatch a young woman with a mysterious past to seek out warriors from neighboring planets to help them make a stand. Awesome. So more stuff from Zack Snyder. Sounds interesting. I can't wait to see what
Everything
that's
from
going to be like.
Zack Snyder sounds interesting to you, Ted.
A space film, Star Wars like with Zack Snyder. I can dig it. I think that's going to be something cool.
If Zack Snyder was to fart and put it on Netflix, you'd say it was amazing.
Be in slow motion if Zack Snyder did it.
Yeah, no, we know he's probably going to deliver some good stuff. I'm just kidding with you, Ted.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool to check it out, see what it's about. And then finally, sort of some sad news that everyone probably saw on social media. We lost a very, very big person in Hollywood, very inspirational figure, Richard Donner, who passed away at the age of 91, I believe, last week. And I don't know. There's so many films that he did that we've talked about, that we love, that we grew up on. I'll just say for me, my favorite Richard Donner film is probably always going to be Goonies. Goonies was unlike anything I had seen at the time growing up because it was kids out on an adventure they probably had no business doing, and it was whimsical and it was magical, and it was about family, and it was just so perfect, and it was just a total adventure that you just wanted to be one of them. So we say goodbye to Richard Donner, and just want to say we thank our thoughts with his family and all of his fans, and we just thank him for everything he's given us. You guys, JC, I probably already know yours, but you want to say what your favorite Donner film is?
Yeah, well, before I do, I'll say Goonies has a special place in my heart. I can't tell you how many times as a kid that movie babysitted me when my parents, that was such a fun movie. So many great quotes and moments. But obviously, the background is there. Superman, the tagline from the first Superman movie was, "You'll believe a man can fly." And while Christopher Reeve portrayed him on screen, Richard Donner was the guy behind the scenes that made you believe
Yes.
that a man could fly, especially for the limited special effects of the late 70s. But just for him to, even the precursor to the whole Snyder Cut thing on Justice League, the fact that years later we got the Donner cut of Superman 2, because he filmed 1 and 2 back to back, and it was the whole, they changed everything mid-production of Superman 2. So for him to get that come out in 2006 was awesome. So for him to portray that, to bring that character on screen, and for me to grow up seeing that, because that movie obviously came out before I was born, as old as I am. But to get to see that for so many years, Christopher Reeve was a Superman for me. And if that movie never comes out, we never get to see him portrayed by Brandon Routh, by Tom Welling, by Henry Cavill and Tyler Hoechlin, who, by the way, Roms, have you been enjoying Superman and Lois? Yes, I have. I love what they're doing with the character. I love the way that show is going, and I can't wait for it to pick back up so we can get the final few episodes of the first season, because pretty damn interesting.
So good.
Yeah, but thank you, Richard Donner, for all the memories. People forget I think he was involved in the Lethal Weapon movies too.
Oh yeah.
He's got so many credits to his name. It's amazing. He's definitely a legend in Hollywood, and it's tough to see him go. But I'm sure him and Christopher Reeve are enjoying a beer together, and it's pretty awesome to think that they're there together. And Margot Kidder too. So pretty cool.
Absolutely. Joe, how about you, sir?
Oh man,
Kind of biggest fan or biggest Donner film?
probably
you
the
like?
biggest films to me, and ones that I really loved growing up as a kid, were gonna have to be Superman 2, of course. To me, I believe Superman 2 is arguably probably one of the best Superman films out there. It was amazing at the time to go and watch it in the theater, and years again, like JC says, watching the Richard Donner cut, you kind of get a new appreciation for the film and what they were able to do at the time. Really, really groundbreaking stuff. And of course, the world that he sets as the director wouldn't, and then you have Christopher Reeves, who really sells the whole illusion of, hey, a man can't fly, like JC was saying. It's amazing. The vision come to light. And then you have the Lethal Weapon movies, Lethal Weapon 2, 3, 4, Omen, the Goonies. You have Maverick. I don't know if you ever remember seeing that movie with what's his name, Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster. That was a cool, funky movie to watch. There's just so many. Radio Flyer, Lost Boys. I mean, the guy was just amazing. Assassins. He was everywhere, dude. I mean, Free Willy. You kind of make fun. Some people make fun of Free Willy here and there, but believe me, if you were young and you watched it, you always saw that iconic part of the film where the whale is jumping over that stone wall, to go to freedom. So you can remember a lot of these things. A lot of the movies that he had took serious tones at times, but movies like The Goonies, Free Willy kind of showed another part, and not only that, but his range as a director, and how instrumental he was, and how his influence is going to be felt for years to come, because people are going to go back and start looking at his, his full repertoire of movies, and they're going to see just how much influence he really had in Hollywood. And another passing that we think we need to talk about too is Robert Downey Sr. passed away. He was what age
Yeah.
83, 84, something like that. 85. Passed away at the age of 85. So, condolences to Robert Downey Jr. and his family, dealing with the death of his father,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Our thoughts go out to them as well. Can't imagine what they're going through right now. And then again, our thoughts are with the Donner family and all of his fans. Go check out your favorite Donner film, whether it's any of the Lethal Weapons, whether it's any of the Superman films, or like Joe said, Free Willy or The Goonies.
The Lost
Go
Boys.
go pop it in and check it out. And yeah, absolutely.
Thank the maker that he
And,
wasn't involved with Super Mario Brothers. So
Thank
Jesus
you.
Christ.
Absolutely. Thanks for that.
I will say this. We mentioned the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, and Brandon Routh portraying Superman, which was really a continuation of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
And the fact that we got closure for that story. We find out he's oh god, what the hell's the name of Superman? With the different S where he goes Kingdom Come Superman, yeah. And for him to have that final scene in Crisis, the classic flying off around Earth and smile at the camera that Christopher Reeve did in all the movies and everything, which is that all started with Richard Donner. And we don't get, there's so many moments like that we don't get if Donner doesn't do what he does. So much appreciated for that.
Absolutely. All right. And I think that'll do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. Be sure to keep sending in your Loki theories, and hope you're excited for the finale as we are. And as always, you can send us a message on Facebook by clicking the send message button, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntogeekcast.com. Next week, we're going to not only be talking about the finale of Loki, but we're also going to be reviewing the first Marvel movie in a very long time, Black Widow. So be looking out for our review, and we can't wait to see it. Can't wait to talk about it. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me on this episode is a man, the myth, the legend. You know him as JC.
Thanks for watching. Listen, everybody. I'll see you next week from South Padre Island. See you there. There's.
We also got the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
yeah, thanks everybody for watching and for commenting. Greatly appreciate the interaction, and a big shout out to you, Johnny Graves, for being our special guest on this episode. And much like JC, I'm headed out to Port Aransas with the family, staying in the condo for a week. So Sunday comes. Peace, peeps.
And shout out to all of our commenters, the God the Chosen, Roms, Mike, David Lozano, Ryan. Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate you guys talking Loki with us, and looking forward to the finale. We'll see you next week. Have a good night, folks.
See ya.